All right, we're live. What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Cardinalytics podcast for Arizona Cardinals fans by Arizona Cardinals fans. Today, you got uh, we're missing one of our co-hosts today, Corey. He said he might show up, he might not, but if he gets in here in time, we'll bring him up to the stage. But I'm here. My name's Rashad, and then we got also my other co-host Jake. Jake, you can introduce yourself.
Yep, Jake. Get me on Twitter at Kyler Murray wins. Happy to be back in the studio.
Cool, cool. And we happy to be back. You know what I'm saying? Like fresh off of a great win. Cardinals are now what 2-8, and our leader's back. You know what I'm saying? First game back from Kyler. Um, we played against the Falcons, and I'd say that everything went as expected.
Yeah,
Would you, Jake?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say just about as I
Oh,
expected. Things were a little bit better. For example, the rushing, and then I guess I would have liked to have seen him at least get one passing touchdown, but um, now overall, I was definitely very happy with the return.
yeah. No, I definitely was too. I know I think we mentioned earlier, like on a previous podcast, like the ramp up period. I know for me at least, I thought like there might be some rust with Kyler, but like it was no rust, like straight out the gate. Drew Petzing, he gave him basically Kyler told Drew, hey, look, don't take nothing off my plate. Like, um, give me everything. You know what I'm saying? And the whole playbook seemed like it was open to Kyler to do whatever he needed to do. And I think the first drive was what, a three and out.
Yep,
And
yep.
after that, what I'm saying, after that he kind of jailed in and things kind of settled down, and honestly, like it looked fun. You know what I'm saying? Like football was fun again for the first time in what, like, since maybe like week 4, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um
seriously.
and so, offensively, Kyler, I guess he ended the day. He completed 19 out of 32 passes. He threw for 250 yards. He did have the one pick, which, you could say it was his fault. He took blame for it in the press conference, which is, you love to see that, him being a leader. But
For
you could
sure.
say it was his fault, or you could say, McBride could have stopped on the route there. But anyways, he threw for 250, had an interception. James Conner, he ran the ball well again, 16 carries for 73 yards. Kyler also had 33 on the ground and a touchdown. And our boy Trey McBride, actually your boy Trey McBride, uh, first tight end, first tight end since 1989 for the
Crazy,
Cardinals to go over 100 yards.
crazy.
Yeah, no, Trey
Yeah,
balled out. The
no,
the first,
absolutely. That was
mhm.
such a bright spot. So you know, just gives you kind of a shot of optimism. Going forward. Um, the possibilities of kind of who we could pair him with as a pass catcher, but I've seen a lot of stuff about how he really is like shaping up to be a complete tight end. Um, in all phases, which is exactly what you want to see, almost like vintage Rob Gronkowski type of style. So, yeah, I'm thrilled for the guy. I mean, he's obviously just one of those guys who's a great player and probably even better person. So, it's pretty much no brainer in terms of heavily rooting for a guy like that on your team.
Mhm. So, like, what were your overall takeaways though from the offense? Just
Yeah,
like
I
the
think it
the
was
flow of the
great.
game.
I mean, just to touch on the numbers that you gave, obviously Kyle threw for 250, which is great. Under Cliff Kingsbury, like Kyler was never a guy that would go out and consistently put up big yardage in the pass game. Um, Oftentimes like low 200s, which is just such a disservice to like his ability. And I would I would go as far to say, like, I know, Shad, you touched on how you didn't think there was much rust. I would even argue that like it's nearly impossible to see no rust. Um, so I think, especially early on, like that first drive, it seemed like he was maybe a little tense. missed a
Mhm.
couple throws, and then kind of quickly just put the blinders on and played football. But that being said, like I guess I'm saying that in a way of it can only get better in my opinion, and I think playing in this competent offense is going to allow this guy to truly excel, unlike
Mhm.
he's been able to in the past 4 years. And I said this a while back, but I still stand firm on the fact that, in my opinion, he has not been able to develop as an NFL quarterback, just given the situation that he was kind of rotting in for the last 4 years. So I'm really excited to see what he's able to do. And just going back to obviously this past game, 250 yards out of your franchise quarterback in his first game back is great. Um, should have had the one touchdown to Michael Wilson, obviously kind of ticky tack. It looked like he was maybe
Yeah.
short, literally an inch, but he had that. I didn't think he was going to rush at all, so that was super
That was very encouraging. Yeah.
extremely encouraging. I really did not think he was going to rush. So he got the rushing touchdown of like 7 yards, 6 yards, kind of just
Mhm.
vintage Kyler, like RPO style, just kind of just slide in like a gazelle. But then like game on the line, the dude covered like 70 plus yards to pick up like 20 or no to pick up yeah he picked up 20 on a 3rd and 10. Game on the line from his own zone. He's clearly playing fearlessly, and I mentioned it on Twitter. It got some love, but like to go and do that coming off an ACL with no brace, and everyone's been harping
Yeah.
on like, oh, the mental aspect. Like to go and do that was just absolutely phenomenal, and it truly does speak to the level of his work ethic that he put in this whole time, and super encouraging. Going back to the offense overall, James Conner is
Mhm.
such a workhorse, man. Like, if it weren't for the injuries, like that dude he is like an old school just power back, and I love him. I really hope he can stay healthy and produce again next year, since he kind of got a lot of the season off this year.
Yeah, no,
McBride,
uh-huh.
go
No, go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say, in McBride, just touching on all points, played phenomenally. Obviously, best game we've seen out of a tight end in many, many years. So that was great. Look forward to seeing what he can continue to do. Hollywood was super quiet. That was one
Mhm.
of Kyler's um, only mistakes was, missing Hollywood on the end zone from like 30-ish yards out. Had him, really should have hit him. That was like his only like
Yeah.
really bad miss of the game. But I do anticipate him to kind of step up in a big way going forward. Michael Wilson will continue to be utilized, and then Michael Carter coming in basically hasn't played this year, so he should be full of life and energy. So I'm feeling really good about what the offense just did and what they're going to be able to continue to do the rest of the way out. What about you?
Yeah, we'll talk about Michael Carter a little bit later on, because I definitely think that that was a good signing for them. But yeah, in terms of the offense this game, like I said, football was fun again for the first time in a long time. Uh, we talked about, well, we kind of talked about James Conner in our little group chat, whether or not he was like the best Keim signing of the Steve Keim era. And honestly, man, James Conner, what he brings to the team, I feel like is equally like just as important as what Kyler brings to the team, like offensively. It's
Wow,
so crazy how the run game, like it's not like he's not breaking off like 30, 40 yard runs, you know what I'm saying? But like the the the
the
plays
ground
that
and
he can
pound
make out of nothing. Yes, the ground and pound and the plays that he can make out of nothing, like it just like induces the team with energy. And I feel like they feed off of that. And having him back was, I mean, he's probably the most underrated running back in the NFL right now. I
for
think he should
sure.
be a Pro Bowler. He's averaging like 5+ yards a carry. And I think he's like top 10 in rushing yards, even though he's missed what 3, 4 games. So
Yeah, he was on IR,
yeah,
so four.
so 4 games. Yeah. So like no, James Conner being back was great. And it was funny because I was listening to some Falcons fans talk about the game afterwards, because I'm in Atlanta.
Yeah,
And they're like, how could we, we let Trey McBride go off against us and blah blah blah. Like, who is Trey McBride and this and that? Well, last year, Trey McBride, he didn't play that much last year, but his best game last year was at the end of the year with David Blau in Atlanta. I was at that game, and I think he had like 80 yards and a touchdown or something like that, and like 5 or 6 catches. Like that was his best game. So it seems like he balls out against the Falcons.
Good to know.
Um, yeah. It seems like he balls out against the Falcons, and
Yeah.
nah, like, it just was exciting seeing Kyler back, and like, I mean, he showed that's why he's him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like with that play to extend that with that play to get that first down on 3rd and 10 late in the game, in a gotta have it situation. Like, I mean, he talked about it. Like you don't really like think about making those plays; they kind of just happen. And for him, bro, it's probably only like 3 quarterbacks in the league that can make that play. You know,
Yeah.
um,
If that.
so no, it was just yeah, if
It's
that,
probably
if that, you know what I'm
it's
saying?
probably him and Lamar.
Yeah, him and Lamar, and I mean, I don't even know if Lamar is getting away from that sack like that. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Like
I
he's definitely
agree.
picking up the yards, but like
Right.
I don't know, like he's not. I don't think he's as shifty, but
Right.
nah, man, it felt good seeing them back on offense and actually finally like when we got the ball back or when they scored when the Falcons scored when Desmond Ritter came in the game they scored. I think they went up 22-17. Like there was no
Uh,
doubt in my mind. What was it,
no.
22-17?
No, 23-22.
23-22. Yeah, that's right. That's right. It was no doubt in my mind that Kyler was gonna get the ball and get us in field goal range. Like it was no doubt. Like if we had Dobbs back there or whoever back there, like
No shot.
yeah, no shot. Um,
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point too. I honestly kind of want to touch on that because obviously Dobbs has been balling out in Minnesota. Um, Happy for the guy, good person, but um, there's no comparison between him and Kyler. I mean, you saw Dobbs go 1-7, and you see Kyler go 1-for-1. Clearly, Minnesota's got a better
mhm.
line that allows Dobbs to kind of um, do what he needs to do and be able to extend plays and stuff. But you're kidding yourself if you think Dobbs would have been able to get us in field goal range there, especially out of the 3rd and 10 from like our own like 18 or whatever it was.
Mhm.
So yeah, definitely speaks to just Kyler, his ability, and just like his presence on the field.
I don't know. Did you see his press conference this week or like yesterday?
Yeah, I
It was,
did. Yeah, I did.
did
I
you
was
see the
impressed.
comment?
I
Did
think he's matured a ton.
No, he definitely
What did you say,
has.
my
But
bad?
did you see the comment that he had towards I think somebody asked him about Josh Dobbs and they were like, like Josh Dobbs is doing good in Minnesota or something like that. And it was like
Yeah,
it was I guess they asked him, they're like, he's doing what he did in Minnesota. He's doing what he did in Arizona and Minnesota. And Kyle was like, "What's that?" You know what I'm saying? Like they're like, "Are you happy for
yeah,
him?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm happy for him." But like, what's that? Like we 2-8. You know?
yeah,
So
and he just got like one of those two. So
yeah, he has one of them. So
no, I totally agree. Like Dobbs, obviously great dude, but like he had so many chances to win games, and I will stand on everything that I have that he cost us personally so many games where it was like we have the chance to go and like I get like same situation we were just in against the Falcons where he personally like held the ball a little too long and got strip sacked or like sacked twice in a row out of and we would end up being in like 4th and 25 and it's like all right well
yeah,
like so like I said happy for him but there's no comparison. I'm glad he's balling out in Minnesota but I'm not I'm not sad that we lost him. I wish we could have gotten a little bit more for him since he is balling out like maybe a 4th round instead of a 6th but I'm not too upset about it. I mean, good for him, good for Minnesota, I suppose.
yeah,
And I don't know, we got our guy, so it is what it is.
yeah. Um, anything else on the offense you want to touch on before we move over to defense?
No, I mean, everything we've touched on, like, yeah, just to reiterate, I know we both did, but James Conner, man, like, guy is just the lifeblood of the backfield, and his presence just makes us such a more dynamic team with the ability to hurt you in multiple areas. There's just no
Yeah,
one. I can't like outside of like obviously they're a lot different, but like a McCaffrey or like a Derrick Henry, I guess is more similar. I mean, Connor's a beast. Like he's just a bowling ball of a guy. Um,
Yeah.
so just his run style and everything, just it brings so much to the table. It opens up so much, and that can't be understated. His importance to the operation.
Yeah. And I will say one thing before we move off the offense. Having Kyler back, like it changes so much in terms of like how defenses have to approach playing us now because obviously like when we had Dobbs, like they're not really respecting Dobbs' arm like that. Um, and we've seen, what I'm saying, like we have decent enough weapons to put some points up on the board. Like we've seen this team put points up on the board even with Josh Dobbs. Now having Kyler back there, you got to respect his legs and you also got to respect his arm. And you can't rush him the same like how you would rush your Josh Dobbs or whoever. So I feel like because of that, like we're gonna start seeing the offense really like spread the ball around, like playmakers really making plays. Like obviously, like Michael Wilson, he had a big game and he hadn't really been doing anything the last couple games. He had a big game this game. Kiesel, he'll get involved more because he could have had the touchdown this game, and we'd be
For
talking
sure.
totally different about him. Um, and Rondell Moore, and then now obviously we got Michael Carter, who we're hoping that maybe he, as soon as he gets up to speed, he could be the change of pace back to James Conner and not necessarily Keontae or Rondell in the backfield.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Definitely should be explosive.
yeah. But on the defensive side of the ball, let me read out some defensive stats real quick. Um so on the defensive side of the ball, your boy BJ Ojolari, or I guess my boy BJ Ojolari,
Baller.
uh baller, exactly. Baller. 2 sacks. I think he has what, 4 sacks on the season.
Something like that, yeah.
Um which is I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that's more than Will Anderson. I'm pretty sure that's more than Will McDowell, or I mean Will McDonald, and
Yep.
another person that was drafted ahead of him.
Yep. It
But
is.
yeah,
I remember.
BJ Ojolari with 2 sacks. Kaiser White led the team in total tackles with 11. Buda Baker had 10. BJ actually had 8 total tackles.
Sheesh.
Um, and Dennis Gardeck also with another sack, and I think he broke a record too. I think he now has the most sacks in Cardinals history by an undrafted free agent,
Yeah, I saw
something
that
like
too.
that.
Yeah, pretty
Hmm.
wild. Good for the Menace. Dennis the Menace.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if it was like Arthur. I'm pretty sure it's a combination of both. Arthur Smith, Taylor Heineke, but the Falcons only threw the ball for 70 yards, and up until
That's
Desmond
wild.
Ritter got in the game, they had only thrown the ball for 50 yards. Like Taylor Heineke was not throwing the ball down the field at all. Um, and it's not like they don't have weapons. I don't. You got to talk to Falcons fans when it comes to Arthur Smith and their offense.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I
but
will say though, like just going back to that, obviously that is definitely an impressive statistic, but I would I would like to say their run game was gashing us. I mean, they were kind of just running at ease until we sort of tightened up later in the game.
yeah,
Because I guess at a certain point, you have to just assume that they're running. But I don't know. Maybe they were nervous of the secondary, or just in terms of like secondary parlayed with the pass rush, which I
yeah,
think both units are definitely underrated, just being a 2-win team. But even still, like impressive, 70 yards and 20 of it came in like their last drive or whatever, last 2 drives. So yeah, I mean,
right.
70
Hmm.
passing yards is pretty good.
Yeah, so they gave up 70 through the air and they gave up 180 on the ground, which obviously that's a lot. But the one thing that they did do though, which Jonathan Gannon talked to, he always preaches, they didn't give up any explosive plays. They didn't give up any explosive plays in the run game or in the passing game. Their longest
Right.
completion play or whatever of the game was for 18 yards. And I think that was a pass to Drake
Okay.
London late in the game in the fourth quarter. So Cardinals
Was
did a
that
good
the one
job
where
on that front.
Marco gave up?
I don't think it was that one, but I mean, you
That was just pathetic. The guy's controller died. Like that was
yeah,
that was just pathetic.
yeah, man. I mean, Well, I mean, we're all like Marco. We're all out on Marco. So like, it's just kind of what I expect at this point. Um, yeah, it's just kind of what I expect at this point. But and so anything you want to say about the defense though?
Yeah, just to reiterate, I mean, BJ's looking like a bona fide stud, which is super exciting. Do you know how old Gardeck is by chance? Just like in thinking about it, I would guess
Nah,
like
he
maybe
might
like 30.
28. Yeah, I'd
Okay,
say he's probably about like 28.
so he's got some life left in him. Obviously great locker room guy, but happy to see him get another sack. He must be at like 6.5, 7, somewhere in there, which
Hmm.
is great. I mean, that's paying above. I mean, that's playing above his expectation for sure. Which is awesome.
Yeah,
Um, Zaven, I know your guy.
that's
Um,
Corey's guy.
oh, that's right. My bad. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Corey's.
Corey's
I
guy.
know.
Yeah.
I knew one of you guys was a huge Zaven
Hmm.
fan. Um, yeah, I mean, he's doing his thing too. So obviously, still getting adjusted, to the new position. But I'm
Hmm.
expecting him to kind of keep growing in that role. And yeah, I mean, overall, like Garrett Williams too. Like I know his stats. It's too bad he couldn't have played earlier because we'd be looking at like a potential um, uh, D-Roy candidate. I mean, there probably would still be Carter just the way he's playing, but
Hmm.
uh, Williams has been nasty in the time that we've seen him. So really happy with what he's doing. Obviously, Kaiser White has been balling all year with the tackles, and Buddha, I guess, is kind of still getting back. But defense looked good. I'm comfortable with the defense to kind of play up to the standards, that we need to allow Kyler to go and win the games
Yeah.
offensively. So,
Yeah. So I just also I want to point out I'm a you know, I don't know if are you a big PFF guy?
um, not huge, but I definitely acknowledge it. Like I'm not like a denouncer. I definitely think there's legitimacy to it for sure.
I got you. Well, so the top five grade out of the uh top five grades on defense players. It was three rookies. BJ was number one, Dante Stills was number three, and Garrett Williams was number four. So
Crazy. I
testament to Monty. Yeah, that's a testament to Monty for
absolutely.
what I'm saying, getting Garrett, who I guess he was coming off of Achilles or something
Yep.
like that, or ACL, something like that. Him falling in the third and finding Dante Stills, who I'd never even heard of, in the sixth round. Like I think Kevin Strong got hurt during the game, and I was like, I Kevin Strong's a good player, but Dante's coming in. I'd rather see him play every
For
single
sure.
snap.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Get him the reps.
yeah, give him the reps, and he's been balling too. So
Right.
I think my takeaway from the defense this week was just the rookies balled out, and yeah, and BJ led that. What I'm saying, he led that group obviously with two
Yep.
sacks, and he's coming into his own. And if I had to give a defensive player of the game, it would be to BJ.
Absolutely.
Um, Buddha would be a close second because he was flying all around the field last game. He almost had him a pick. Like
Oh, I know that was
him
so brutal. How
him him and him and JT, like I swear they come so close to having interceptions, but
I
like
know.
something always happens.
Marco also
Um
dropped another one, right? It was like right to him.
oh yeah, Marco dropped, yeah, it was right in his hands. He dropped it. Yeah. Yeah, that was
Um,
another one too.
yeah, that one with Buddha
Um
was tough. That was an incredible play. He literally just turned around and ran as fast as he could to get back into that.
yeah.
And as he was kind of like turning slash falling down, the ball was like sort of to the left and behind him. Probably like one of the top defensive plays of the year if he was able, like overall in the NFL, if he was able to have brought that ball in. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's
And
definitely playing with the fire in his gut.
and I just want to point out, like, early on in the season, I remember we played against I forget. We played against somebody. I forget who it was. Maybe it was the Cowboys or something like that. And like we gave up a deep touchdown pass like that. And it was like, well, we had a safety back there, but he didn't know that he needed to be running back there with them. And it's
Right,
like that's the difference between then and now. And like, Kyler talked about, we're not a bad team. Like people, the record might say that, but we're not a bad team. When we have players like Buddha, when we have starters out there, like they're gonna make those plays, and when we make those plays, like we're in these games.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like
Absolutely.
I and to segue that, like going forward, I think that we can, I think that we can probably get about 4 to 5 more wins. I seen somebody tweet out something today with like a probability, like a playoff probability thing, and I know you like this. If the Cardinals won out, they'd have a 75% chance of making the playoffs in a wild card spot if they won
Yeah.
out.
I was just debating with some of my boys last night about the Cardinals' chances of running the table, and I was saying, like, you don't want to look too far ahead, but if we're able to win this weekend, right, you have two in a row. I think we can go beat a crippled Rams team. That's three in a row. Then you go
Yeah,
and play the Steelers, which I think is so winnable against that offense. Then you go and you play the Niners in Arizona. But if you've won 4 games in a row, like that game's not out of the realm of possibility. And then after that, it's like you got
Bears,
Bears, which is a win, and then uh,
Eagles.
Philly, and then Seattle in Arizona, which is pretty crazy because we almost beat Philly last year with a terrible team. Um,
Yeah,
and they don't.
we should have beat Philly. We should have beat Philly last
No
year.
kidding. And
Yeah.
then even earlier in the season, beating Dallas, like if we
Mhm.
can stack some wins, like it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. It's just at this point, if you want to talk about sneaking in, you got to start rooting against teams like a Washington, a Minnesota, things like that. So,
Yeah, and
obviously,
those teams, they're not perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like Minnesota, like Dobbs has won 2 games, you know what I'm saying? But we know who Dobbs is. Like,
no, I'm waiting for
he
that to
can
come out, man. I really am.
Yeah. And yeah, and obviously Washington, like I mean, they're not a perfect team either. But no, I definitely think that there's a possibility. And I'm looking forward to us kind of quieting down the CJ Stroud MVP talk. Not
Uh,
saying that, he hasn't been balling out because he's been doing is ridiculous right now.
right,
Like
for sure.
CJ
Not
has
taking anything
been
away from that.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm not taking nothing away from him, but I think that we could put a pause to it this week, like especially riding high after this victory with our quarterback back. And Kyler's going back to Texas, you know what I'm saying? So like he's gonna have that place rocking with his fans, and it probably be some Cardinals fans there too. Just because,
Point, yeah,
JJ Watt and D Hop kind of came over too. Um so yeah, I'm looking forward to that game. Real
yeah,
quick, I want to shout out one of my friends here, Beachhead. He said what happened this year. He's an Eagles fan, so talking about us beating Philly.
yeah. No, it doesn't look likely, but you never know. That's
Yeah.
honestly, I think it was something you said, Shad, a couple weeks ago about Kyler coming back. Is like, and it might have been Corey. I might have screwed it up again, but with Kyler
Mhm.
Murray under center, it's like as a fan, like you're never truly out of the game. So that's a feeling that's been foreign to us for some time. So yeah, you just never know. I mean, going into this like easy stretch of the schedule, let's just stay on
Mhm.
schedule, limit the penalties, and you never ever ever know because you just don't know. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Um. So yeah, I know you said you got to run, so I guess we'll cut it up short today.
Yeah, I appreciate
Anything
that.
else you need? Yeah.
No,
Anything else you want to say?
think that's it for me. Super excited about this team. Very young core, a lot of passionate players. I mean, JG, hate on him all you want, but the dude definitely knows ball, and he's surrounded himself with other dudes that know ball. So, yeah, great to have
Mhm.
Kyler back. Great to have Connor back. Always a pleasure chopping it up with you. And so that's it for me.
Word. Last thing I'll say here. Beachhead, he said Kyler will give us fits. Kyler, Kyler will give a lot of teams fits. We're gonna have to worry about Jalen Hurts that game. We looking for. I'm looking forward to JG going back to Philly.
Yeah,
Especially with
that's
how
gonna be
they
sick.
yeah with how they kind of responded to him after the Super Bowl. So him and Nick
They
Rallis
hate him
going back
too.
like that should
So
be.
yeah,
Oh yeah, I
I
know.
love it.
Yeah, I know they. I know they hate him.
I love
Yeah,
it.
I know they hate him.
I have like an old colleague that was like he's a huge Philly fan, and if we win that game, man, I will never ever ever let that kid hear the end of it. So
I got you. Yeah, yeah. Well, all right. I guess we might try to sneak in another episode before the Houston game. If
yep,
not, then I guess we'll be back with the recap of that game. So appreciate y'all tuning in, and y'all be blessed out here, be safe, and we'll catch y'all next week.
Yep. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. Thanks, Shad.
All right, peace. See y'all.